From almost choking a contestant to walking into his interview high as a kite, Joe Rogan didn't have the best time on Fear Factor. In fact, he hated it. Well, the guy had good reason. Before Joe Rogan was making waves on his podcast, he was a humble host for the popular game show Fear Factor. But it's not a time of his career he likes to remember fondly. He revealed it all on one of his podcast episodes with American comedian Tim Dillon. And guess what? Rogan did it for the money. The former commentator explained that back in the day, he didn't have money, and they were offering him a lot. Add in the fact that he was having kids back then, and it makes a whole lot of sense why he felt this overwhelming responsibility to squirrel away as much money as he could. Still, that paycheck could not stop him from regretting his decision a few seconds later. Once he started on the show, he was like, "Oh my God, this is a mistake." He felt it during season 5 of the American game show. Basically, he started to realize that the show was getting repetitive and that it was time to move on. Here are the UFC commentator's exact words. "When I was like on season 5 of Fear Factor, I remember thinking, I don't know how much longer I can do this. It was the same thing over and over again. We did 148 episodes. After a while, it was like, Jesus, how many animals can you serve?" But honestly speaking, it wasn't all about repetition for Rogan. He had a few unsavory incidents as well. And no, it wasn't the disgusting food or the out-of-the-world dangerous challenges. Remember that time he got physical with a contestant? It happened back on the 10th episode of Season 6. According to Joe, one particular couple on the show was having an awful time getting along during the amazing race, and there'd be frequent shouting matches between the two. Rogan found it disgusting. To make it worse, his fellow reality star, Johnny Fairplay, wasn't helping things. I'd say he aggravated the situation by ripping into the contestant's partner. Kinda makes sense why everything that happened. You see, when the couple got eliminated, no surprise there, cough, the wife walked up to Johnny and gave him a piece of her mind. I'm sugarcoating that. She punched him. She punched an American professional wrestler, and he fell over. Of course, Joe was observing all of this, and he was not too happy. He went over and gave her a piece of his mind about how she can't go around punching people. Now, it might seem like he did the right thing, but it only made the situation worse. The husband confronted Joe. Rogan told his side of the story, and according to him, the husband got right in his face and the host pushed him. As you can guess, the husband was not entirely happy about that and, in fact, dared Joe to touch him again. Joe went, What? He thought that they were fighting now, but to be fair, no punches were thrown. The husband did knock out Joe, and Rogan never put him in his place. The former UFC commentator did, however, try to get the husband to hit him. As per Sport Bible, Joe wanted to choke the participant, but didn't because he was afraid of being sued. Well, I'm glad he was able to think clearly in that moment. He did, however, grab him by the neck and put him into a clinch. But hey, at least no noses were broken. Of course, the video of the incident found its way to YouTube, and with 3 million viewers, everyone had something to say. Believe it or not, many sided with Rogan. A lot of fans thought that more often than not, the issue of women abusing men gets overshadowed if a man tries to defend himself. One fan wrote that there are a lot of female abusers out there, and gender plays no role in being crazy. Another fan mentioned that even if punches were thrown, Rogan would have earned the viewers' respect for putting a man in the hospital. Yikes! A lot of users thought that the husband was picking a fight with the wrong person, and I would have to agree with that. What's more, one viewer imparted important wisdom about letting this be a good lesson for anyone out there picking fights. You never know what the other person is capable of. The wrong person could ruin your life. On that note, I'd like to point out that Joe Rogan was not the only one soaking up the praise. Viewers appreciated future WWE superstar The Miz for stepping in and trying to stop the clownery. Everyone else was just enjoying the show, so kudos to him for showing some character. Still, I'd like to commend Rogan for doing 7 seasons for a show he didn't like. Those paychecks must have had a lot of zeros. And you know what? They did. According to The Money, the podcast host was earning $100,000 per episode. Yeah, no wonder he's worth $120 million today. Rogan did over 150 episodes of Fear Factor. He performed his hosting duties from June 2001 to September 2006. Then there was a short break. He returned back to the show on December 12, 2011, and only stayed on for half a year, before finally bidding farewell on July 16, 2012. Interestingly, the 55-year-old has no loyalties for the show, even after spending so many years hosting. Ask him why the show was canceled, and he'll tell you it's because they served people jizz. Now, I did mention that Rogan walked out because the show was getting repetitive, but there were other reasons as well, like the fact that the show got more and more extreme, and Rogan was kind of freaking out. Guess all those muscles are for show, huh? But hey, at least he got some stories out of it. He shared one story that left a particular impression on him in one of his podcast episodes. It was a bull riding incident. In his words, it scared the out of him. The show had people ride bulls, and Rogan was so scared he even asked the contestants to not do it. He was also dumbfounded by one stunt where a contestant was on a helicopter, and their partner was handcuffed to a tree. And they were also attached to a bungee cord that was connected to the helicopter. Yeah, guess Rogan had a point after all. The helicopter was flying right through the giant canyon. Still, Joe doesn't feel bad for hosting a show where people actively put their lives in danger. The former television presenter said that he would have eaten an animal and he would have let people throw puke in their face. He would have been a contestant if he was broke. But honestly speaking, it doesn't sound like Joe had a good time on Fear Factor. Maybe he stayed for the money. But is that why he signed up in the first place? Well, in an episode with comedian Christina Pazitsky, Joe revealed that he took the job as a joke. When he walked into that meeting, he was high. And guess what? He knew that the show was going to end up canceled right in the first meeting with NBC executives. And he even told them. Good thing that all that is behind the presenter now. And that about sums it up about why Joe Rogan hated Fear Factor so much.